Breaking this morning, 6 feared dead in a massive house fire in Logansport. 4 of the victims, children.
A bombshell announcement comes a few weeks late. Now Elkhart city leaders are asking why they weren't told the police chief is on unpaid leave.
A battle going back and forth for over a year. Now it's decision day. Will a proposed abortion clinic be allowed to open in South Bend?
First, fast, accurate, live. This is WSBT 22 News on Fox.
Good morning. It is 7 o'clock and we're bracing for frigid temperatures. Take a look at this outside. 20 degrees out in South Bend this morning, and we're just getting word about some slick streets out there this morning, especially on the bypass.
Yeah, the bypass westbound on the bypass at the 31 interchange. Closed off right now because of a 4-vehicle crash. We have a crew en route to the scene, but meteorologist Carrie Peugeot, it just goes to show you the roads are slick and we're not doing much melting out there.
No, we're not. In fact, temperatures are going to stay below freezing all day. Some warmer temperatures. I'll show you that coming up in about 10 minutes.
Carrie, thank you. And breaking this morning, 6 people are feared dead, including 4 children, after being trapped inside this house fire in Logansport. Investigators say firefighters rescued 2 adults and they were taken to the hospital. The extent of their injuries is unknown at this time. The call came in just before 2 o'clock this morning at this house on Potawatomi Road. The house is in a rural area, so crews had to transport water to the scene and had a hard time fighting the fire. Officials do not believe the home had working smoke detectors. Our sister stations are on the scene in Logansport this morning. We're working to get more updates. We know that at this point, firefighters have not been able to go into the house. They deem it too dangerous and they're waiting until later in the day when they can determine the safety of that house before going in. But we'll bring you updates as they become available all morning long. Well, this morning there are new developments in the investigation into the Elkhart Police Department that's really sparking backlash among city leaders. Some
members of the Elkhart Common Council asking why the mayor, Tim Neese, kept the suspension of the police chief quiet for as long as he did. The chief's 30-day unpaid suspension follows the controversial video showing 2 officers beating a suspect that surfaced earlier this month. We just learned that the chief is 2 weeks already into that suspension. Members of the Common Council say they found out yesterday on the news. The council's president says he should have heard about it straight from the mayor.
At any time that you suspend a department head that's responsible for millions of dollars of taxpayer revenue, at the very least, the legislative body deserves to know so that they can communicate that to their constituency.
The mayor's office did respond to the council's president's comments. A statement says he, quote, makes a good point that the mayor should have informed the city council prior to the police chief's discipline being made public. Quote, however, they say the similar disciplinary incident, a council member felt it was inappropriate to have prior knowledge. Now, this morning, Elkhart's Board of Safety is taking stricter actions against 2 police officers in that video. Learn what specifically is happening coming up in about 30 minutes.
New this morning, several police officers in another Indiana department now being sued. A man claims several Logansport deputies abused him following a DUI arrest. He's using this video from inside the jail to back up his claim. The man says officers slammed his face into a wall, then tripped him and threw him on the floor. The man calls the actions unconstitutional and says the officers should be held accountable. The Cass County attorney has not commented yet on this case.
The suspect in a South Bend murder will be in court this morning. Anthony Patton Jr. arrested in October after a week-long manhunt. Police say he had been on the run since the shooting death of Tamara Agnew at an apartment complex on Anderson Avenue. Patton is also accused of shooting at a South Bend police officer. He's entered a not guilty plea. His counsel hearing is set for 8 o'clock this morning.
New this morning, this Mishawaka man will spend nearly 2 decades in prison. Shane Ingalls has pleaded guilty to drug and firearm charges. Our reporting partners at the South Bend Tribune say police caught him driving from Mishawaka to Michigan City for a drug deal. They say he tried running from officers after crashing his car and leaving his passenger, who was 8 months pregnant, behind. He was sentenced in federal court yesterday to 19 years.
Also new this morning, information about what brought down the plane off the coast of Indonesia from Lion Air. Black box data from the Lion Air jet shows pilots apparently lost control when the plane's automatic safety system forced the plane downward. The data shows they fought to keep this plane in the air for more than 11 minutes. It did finally crash into the sea at 450 miles an hour, killing all 189 on board. Investigators believe a faulty sensor caused the system to malfunction, the system that prevents stalling out in the air. The pilots did not follow protocols for such a situation, according to this report. Now they're pushing airlines to improve pilot training so they're ready in an emergency. There's no official cause of this crash just yet.
New this morning, investigators say staff members working at the nation's largest detention camp for migrant children did not undergo proper background checks. According to a government watchdog report, the Trump administration sidestepped requirements for workers at the Tornell, Texas tent city. Camp officials say more than 2,000 staffers are vetted in some ways, but the report claims they did not go through strict child abuse and neglect inspections.
The Justice Department is now set to appeal a federal restraining order. It stops the government from denying asylum to anyone who enters the United States away from an official entry point. DOJ lawyers plan to take the case to a federal appeals court, and then the Justice Department asks a judge to put a restraining order on hold while the appeal is filed. The judge expects to make a ruling on this request by Friday.
This morning, President Trump is threatening to punish General Motors if it goes ahead with those massive layoffs. GM plans to shut down 5 plants and cut 14,000 jobs across North America, many of those in the Midwest. The president tweeted yesterday, in part, he is, quote, very disappointed with General Motors for closing plants in Ohio, Michigan, and Maryland, nothing being closed in Mexico and China. He says the administration will now consider cutting all GM subsidies, including for electric cars.
7:07, and right now Michigan state leaders are setting the stage for perhaps a controversial vote. A House committee is planning to decide on a package of bills today that would raise the age of who can be tried as an adult. Discussions about the idea started yesterday. It would change the age of a juvenile from 17 to 18. But a vote stalled when a representative argued the proposal was unclear. The committee plans to take up the issue again this morning. If it passes, this could go on to the full House. A highly debated issue will surface again this morning in Indianapolis. A state appeals panel is planning to decide if an abortion clinic will get a license to operate in South Bend.
WSBT 22's Caroline Torrey is following this closely for us from the live desk. And Caroline, this decision is a long time coming.
The issue has gone back and forth really for more than a year. I'm Caroline Torrey, WSBT 22 News.
All right, Caroline, thank you. And the time now 7:08. A request to open a weather amnesty center in South Bend now approved by the state. But coming up, why the building on Tut Street is still not ready to open.
And dramatic video caught on camera showing rescue crews pulling a family from a sinking car. Find out what sent them into this freezing Indianapolis pond in the first place.
And outside this morning, this is a live look in Plymouth where you can see a little snow on the ground, but not much. This is one of the areas that you only had a little bit of light snow, but we have a lot of spots with snow-covered roads. We're going to talk about when that will end coming up next.